In New York City, he says his life is so fucking shitty. Oh, baby, you ain't shitty for your shitty in New Orleans. Come on down, get on that train and start making scene.
All right.
Hey! Welcome once again. I am Francis Gunn.
Oh, and I'm April Cattell.
And thanks for coming out to Resistance is Dumb. This is our third episode. We've been through some trials and tribulations, but hopefully this one will go a little smoother. And if not, we'll iron her out for next week. But thank you guys for coming back again.
Hey, Davey.
Oh, cheers. We got a couple of Negronis brought to you by the letters N and I that makes it not an outdated slur.
Okay, that took me a second. Yeah. Negronis are my favorite summer drink. I think I've told you this. I like drinking gin in the summer, and Negronis are the best.
It's actually the first cocktail, and many people will be like, that's the Sazerac. They're wrong.
Well, Sazerac has Sazerac in it, though, doesn't it?
The Sazerac is a cocktail, but everybody thinks that's the first cocktail ever invented. It's not. It's a Negroni.
Huh. Well, there you go. My favorite cocktail is Negroni. And whenever I ever order it, someone always makes some comment, because apparently that's like a old Italian man drink. I don't know.
Both Negroni and Sazerac invented in New Orleans.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Negroni was invented.
Yeah.
See, I always associated that with Italy. I always thought it was an Italian drink.
I'm pretty sure Campari is
Italian. Yeah, so I just thought that drink was like an Italian American thing, which would, to me, I would associate with like New York or New Jersey. But I believe you.
No,
New
and
Orleans
don't
had all sorts of good cocktails.
Don't go on Jeopardy with any of this. Look it up first.
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
We're not to be trusted.
I'm as sure as I usually am about stuff.
All right. Well,
but,
what are we talking about today?
Well, hi, day 60 of quarantine for me. Haven't worked since March 14th. Still sitting here not working. You know. I was just noticing the other day that I'm glad that our hair is asymmetrical in the same direction. Because if it was symmetrical, then we would look like we were guarding a library.
Especially right after I get my haircut when it's like shaved on the side.
With Ghostbusters music. Bum, bum. And you're like, oh man, this library. I don't know what this is. Any library has a basement that they let you go in. It's a great place to get molested.
Where do the libraries have basements that let you go in?
I mean, I've only ever been to... No, never, but the one in Ghostbusters. In the
beginning.
Yeah.
Alright, that's what you're talking about. Gotcha.
That wasn't ectoplasm all over the Dewey Decimal cards.
Ooh.
Somebody blows their nose and you want to keep it? Their nose.
When's the last time... I'm trying to remember... Okay, so this is how I know I'm a millennial. I still went to libraries that had the card system, like a physical card system when I was a kid. I don't think children nowadays have any idea what that's about.
No, definitely not. I'm 39, and like they had to make it a point to teach us how that worked, which was like
me too.
90% failure because it's really complicated, and little kids are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Can't I just ask the librarian for a book? Like, why is she here? I gotta be, you gotta look up the 009 doot, and I'm like, bruh, am I launching a rocket or trying to find Catcher in the Rye?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you straddle that line right between millennial and Gen X.
Except I am an exception because I have most people my age know more about technology.
Sure, no, I'll give you that. But just in terms of like cultural touchstones, I have very little connection to cultural touchstones, but that has nothing to do with my age. Most cultural touchstones, I feel like, are you have like you're right in the line between Gen X cultural touchstones and millennial cultural touchstones. You're in between.
I can't remember what it's called right now, but I mean, it's like a recognized thing, like people between millennials and what the hell is it
Gen
called?
X.
Like right between it, even though they're technically millennials.
In one or the other, yeah.
They're the people that saw both.
Right.
You know, when we used to have to like sail to school.
So my definition
And
of
now we take
millennial,
Ubers.
or by my, well, this isn't mine. This is the official definition of millennial, because every generation's a 20-year span, and so the way that you can think about where you line up, because you know different sources have it slightly this way or slightly that way. Did you have a coming of age period in your life, both before and after internet, computers and smartphones were widespread? Because I do. Like, you still had to record music off the radio, on tapes. You didn't have things on your computer. You still had regular telephones that were totally normal to have. Maybe you had I think people in my age, people started getting cell phones in like high school. My brother was like middle school, so we're both millennials, because it like happened in our childhood, but not before or after. You know what I mean?
Mine is smeared over a bunch of years, so I'm not the best person to ask. Like, somebody that's up on life and everything that's
Right.
happening will be a better... It's like, I had nothing, didn't touch a computer till I was 20. Seriously. I'm 39, so I was 20, 19 years ago, in case you can't do math. Didn't have a smartphone until... I don't even know. I didn't have a smartphone until after my marriage ended.
I didn't.
So that was like a long time.
I didn't
after
either,
people
but that's because I was in Ecuador when that became a thing that people just had.
Yeah, and I was in New Orleans, like, doing drag and sitting in my apartment, like, playing acoustic guitar till my fingers and armpits bled. You know, while everyone else was like, ew, like, so, I mean, not that I, like, shunned it. Like, that's just how I was living.
I didn't shun it either. I was just living in a country where we still had internet cafes to check our Facebook. So.
Yeah, I didn't run in on it because I didn't grow up with it in the same progression that everybody else did.
Right.
So I wasn't like, ooh, the next thing. I was
Right.
like, bro, I'm 9 things behind. Like, I'm just over here, like, painting on boobs.
Yeah, I don't know. It's it was weird. I've told Francis the story before, but it was weird for me coming back from Ecuador after a couple years, and how quickly little things that you didn't even notice had changed, because technology just changes so quick. And I was in the airport, and they had just, I guess at some point while I was gone, started having those menu signs in fast food restaurants that are animated. It's a screen instead of a board. So like in Dunkin' Donuts, there was a cup of coffee with steam coming off of it instead of just being a picture of a cup of coffee. And I was in line at the Dunkin' Donuts at the airport, like, looking at it, and I was like, am I fucking high? What is happening? And then finally realized, like, when the screens changed to another screen, I was like, holy shit. I thought I was in Hogwarts, man, with the pictures moving on me. I was so confused.
It was like in Back to the Future 2 when Jaws comes out of the sign and eats Marty McFly, except it was a Big Mac and she ate it.
Yeah.
It jumped out of the sign and she went like a dolphin.
Exactly.
Yeah, we both have unique upbringings with technology, but I mean, I won't go into that too much. I didn't grow up with it, so then I didn't have it as a young adult, and now I'm like, how do you do the thing?
I remember the first computer game that anyone had when I was little. I guess I was in grade school. Was Oregon Trail, and did you ever play that? Oh, it's this stupid computer talking at us.
Yeah, I think everyone played Oregon Trail. I think they have a first-person shooter of Oregon Trail at this point. Everyone did that.
Yeah, that was like one of the first. The first one, I don't know if anyone will know this, but the first video game I got really into is called Tank Wars. Have you ever even heard of this?
I have heard of it, but I know nothing of it.
It was like basic primary color screen, and you had these little tanks, and you had to like figure out the physics so that you could shoot a thing over at the other person's tank, and you just go back and forth until one of you killed the other one. It was so basic, and every once in a while I run across someone who had it, because it was like on a really old Macintosh that my dad had in like 1993 or something. It's very weird. So if any of y'all know Tank Wars, tell me in the comments, because I feel like I only never met one other person who knows what that is.
No, I mean, of course I had Oregon Trail in elementary school. It was first, and we had computer class where you go and the computers. It was just like a room full of computers that were like the size of a friggin' microwave.
And they were all Macintoshes back then. That was before Windows took over.
I know nothing about that, but the screen was all black, and everything on the screen that wasn't the screen was green. So it looked just like Alien.
I remember my dad used to make me write stories on there because he wanted me to get used to being able to type on a computer. And I wish I could. This is back when we had the big old floppy disks. There was like the small, like super high tech, futuristic disks, the hard disks that came later. But do you remember the big floppy disks?
Yeah, the square black ones. Oh yeah.
On some floppy disk in some closet or attic or storage unit somewhere is a floppy disk full of stories that I wrote when I was like 4 years old on an old Macintosh computer, like barely knowing how to spell.
Well, somebody will find that in 200 years and it'll be the diaries of...
I think it was thing like, Anne went to store. Nothing too deep.
But yeah, no. Weirdness, technology. Oh yeah, Oregon Trail, like, we were taking it seriously. We're fucking dumb, like wiping boogers on things. And it's just like, you're in there and it's like, you could buy all these guns. You could buy all this grain. And you're like, fuck yes, and the hose. And it's like, you died of the worst case of herpes recorded in medical history. And we're like, what? But they still have like Oregon Trail. But the mind blowers for me were the first time I went to a friend's house, and because at this point I was a little poor and toy deprived, I went to a friend's house and he had the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah, I never got any of that.
Yeah, and it was Super Mario Brothers. There wasn't no advance. It was like the first thing, and I was just like, what is this shit? You know, it's like when you're a kid, it's just like, let me play it. It's like, no, you can't play yet because it's their Nintendo. Right. And then when they finally let you go, you don't know what you're doing with this stupid controller. So you're just like, what do I do? What do I do? A turtle killed me. And he's like, well, my turn again. And then he like goes through 5 levels. And mesmerizing. I was blown away by that.
My parents never let me have any. We didn't have any video game system at all. I never really even touched a video game until I was like 18. And then I got super obsessed with Halo. Did you ever play Halo?
That's way after my like, yeah, I know all about it, but that's way after my video game touching time.
That was the first game I ever was like, I'm gonna get good at this game, and I got real good at it. And then they had all the online stuff. See, my gamer life ended very quickly. First of all, online stuff is super gross. And then I was like, oh, I've just spent, I don't know, a quarter of my waking hours doing this game on a screen instead of doing something interesting with my life. And I was like, never mind. I can't have a console. They're too fun. I love games too much that like I'll just throw away my life playing them. It's like, I can't have it.
Yeah, I remember Electronic Battleship fucking blew my tiny mind when I was little.
Tamagotchis?
That was way after. I was like a teenager and like moshing. I didn't have Tamagotchis. That was totally like my teenage years. But speaking of 80s shit, I just want to point out, if you could lean to your left for just a second. We finally remembered to turn the flux capacitor on.
Flux capacitor.
So tonight we will be time traveling back and reviewing movies for you that your parents have never even heard of. But I just wanted to point that out. Yes. It's a nice piece here. We do have a flux capacitor fully working. But I mean, I don't know if we got like a minute or two on us. Quarantine, like I said, 60 days. Oh, April won school.
I didn't win school.
She won school!
I still have...
She gets a car! Wait, that was Ed McMahon doing Oprah.
I still have a whole year left. 2 more semesters.
She didn't... Well, I mean, she won. She won this semester.
I won this semester.
Who the fuck is messaging me in the middle of this?
I kicked the semester's ass. They don't release my grades until later this week, but I'm expecting straight A's. So I'm very happy. You know. I worked fucking hard. You helped me. It was fucking
I'm not
stressful.
surprised. I'm not surprised at all.
I worked hard. I can be snobby about that.
But just a little like abysmal shit. I'm not looking forward to everything returning to normal. I really, really am not.
Like, which part do you think?
Well, as grateful as I was for my ability to make an income, and like everything sucks right now. I can't do comedy. That's the worst part of it. Like everything else can suck. I don't care about going out and seeing people. I could. It just sucks not being able to do stand up, but not working and not being exposed to the general public and like their general uncouth and just not getting it behavior was like enough before this, and now like I've just been seeing I won't dwell on this, but I've been seeing these stories lately that are just depressing me. But if I could pick a superpower, it would be to not be surprised by how much people suck, because I always am, even though I already know. But I was like reading the story about this ice cream parlor that opened a couple days ago in Massachusetts, I believe, and they were like, takeout and, well, I guess just takeout and everything, and they had all this stuff in place, like you have to order an hour before you pick up, and yada yada yada, and we're being super into social distancing and all this stuff, and like they got mobbed by rabid, horrible, fat white people, and like who were disregarding the whole order an hour beforehand thing, berating the employees because they had to stand around and wait for their ice cream. And like people lost it. Several employees quit. And then the owner of the ice cream shop was just like, you know what? Fuck it. And reclosed. Like shit like that makes me so sad. At what point in the middle of screaming at a 16-year-old who doesn't even know how to have a job but is doing their best, do you not stop and say to yourself, like, I am screaming at someone about ice cream.
Yeah.
Like
it's fucking crazy.
Anybody that knows me knows I don't have like high hopes for humanity, but like this shit is pissing me off. The Costco mask thing.
What was the Costco mask thing?
Well, Costco is not letting people shop without masks.
I thought everyone was.
No, not everyone. There's people without masks in Hannaford today.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
All right. Well, most of the grocery stores that I've been to have a sign that says you're not allowed in without a mask, but I guess Hannaford doesn't fucking care. But, all right.
I don't know, man. Or they just don't. They're like, it's not worth it.
All right.
Even though it is, but they got dumped on whatever it is, social media. It is like I'm never coming here again. I'm canceling my membership to Costco and all this shit, and it's my body, my choice. And I'm like, what people don't understand, and this is like after years of working in the French Quarter in New Orleans, and having to throw drunks out and be like, no, you're not allowed to finish your beer. You fucked up. You have to go. Like, people don't understand private property.
Yeah.
And a lot of these videos I've watched of people freaking out, being made to wear masks and shit, they're just like, this is America. And it's like, you are in a private business right now. And if they tell you need to come in here dressed like Gandalf or you can't shop, like, that's their thing.
You think people we're having riots about like, oh, this door says no shirt, no service. I have right to not wear a shirt. It's like, no, dude, this is their store. They can fucking make whatever rule they want.
Yeah, so say whatever you want about the people that are pissed about anything that's happening right now that might not lean towards everything it says in the Constitution. Also, private businesses can tell you to do whatever they want to. And if you don't like it, you don't have to go there. If you go into a restaurant and they're like, take your shoes off, Donnie Brasco, and you don't want to, they have a right to fucking refuse service. You don't get to call the cops. They're not violating your rights. It's their place. Restaurants, businesses, they're private. Even if it's Walmart, it's private property. You are not, like, it's not even freedom. You come in my house, you don't really have freedom of speech. I mean, you mostly do, but if you start saying racist shit, I'm going to be like, hey, shut up. And if you don't, I'm going to say, get the fuck out. And if you're like, oh, it's America, I'll be like, I don't care, you're in my house, dude.
I think where the big confusion comes in is that people don't realize that the freedom of speech protects you from persecution from the government for having whatever speech it is that you want to have. It does not protect you from consequences. And human beings are allowed to receive consequences within the law from other human beings. And like you said, private property, that means you are in control of what goes on in private property. It has nothing to do with the government. Therefore, the First Amendment does not apply to that situation. Like, yeah, that annoys me about Facebook too. When someone says something really fucked up and then other people react and they're like, whatever, freedom of speech. It's like, okay, like, you absolutely had the freedom to say that. No one's going to ever throw you in jail for that. But we also have the right to hate you. So, like, that's okay.
But if someone does own a business and they're like, I just had to put down my dog named Blue, so I ain't letting no one in wearing the color blue, and you run past the doors and get in anyway, like, yeah, you will get arrested for that because it's their private fucking property. But I mean,
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense.
We just got a you're not the boss of me culture going on in this country right now.
We've had this conversation before. When people start getting really, really upset and throwing around terms like discrimination and persecution about things that are that trivial, all that says to me is that you've never actually experienced real persecution or discrimination if this is what you think persecution and discrimination is and feels like. Yeah, like, all that shows me is that you've never, like, you are the definition of privilege. Like, if that's enough for you to think you're being persecuted, that means no one's ever persecuted before. You have no frame of reference to understand what persecution means. Jesus fucking
and you
Christ.
could extend that to, like, somebody's super pissed about the sweet potato fries. And it's like, well, you must have had a very nice day.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it.
But we have to move on from this.
Right.
Anything else about us? You won school. Everyone's stupid. We're all going to die. Everything's going to reopen soon. And people are going to be like, we won! Burger! And we're all going to die. So we're all going to die. Anyway.
Let me throw one thing in here. I was thinking about interviewing a nurse friend of mine who works in a COVID unit. If any of y'all think that would be something interesting, like, just tell me in the comments. Maybe I'll do, like, a separate little interview on the side.
Well, we only care so much about what y'all find interesting. So if we reckon that that's going to be a nice interview, we're going to go right ahead and slide that through.
I don't know. If people seem interested, I might do it on Monday, so we'll see.
But, as usual, we're going to review a couple movies. They're both old movies. Mm-hmm. Before we get into that, I gotta explain two things. We have a rating system. We both give a 0 through 10. 0 being Suicide Squad, 10 being Blade Runner. Okay? We're not allowed to individually assign.
We didn't even give Blade Runner a 10, though.
Well, I'm
you gave it a 9.
I'm saying individually we're giving it.
Didn't you give it a 9?
No, I absolutely. That's the only 10 I've given out.
Oh, all right, never mind. Take it back. All right.
But we're not allowed to assign personally 0.5s. But the way it works is she gives something a 9, I give it an 8, it gets an 8.5, and that's the rating from our podcast. Also, spoilers. We have spoiler hats.
Oh yes. If you don't want a movie spoiled, just mute it until you see that we've taken off the hat in the picture.
Yes, if you're interested in perhaps watching this film and you want a little taste, but you don't want to know the major things, watch out for them hats. And then, pause it, watch the video, and when the hats come off, you're safe. Unless, what?
I just realized there's people who listen to this instead of watch it.
Well, you can listen to the sound of the hat.
I'll tell you what, if you're listening to this instead of watching it, just assume everything we're doing is a spoiler. I don't feel like making special adjustments for you. Sorry.
Yeah, one of them was going to be rough. So, I mean, that all being said,
all right,
let's get into this.
First,
yeah, we got just a second on that. The first movie we are going to review is Easter Parade, a favorite of mine. She just saw it the other night for the first time. It was made in 1948, starring Judy Garland and Fred Astaire, who need no introductions. It was directed by Charles Walters, who also did Summer Stock, another fantastic Judy Garland film, one of my favorites. Yes, it's a musical. Deal with it. We're not making you watch the whole fucking thing right now. But I'm into that shit,
We are geeky about a multitude of things. Musicals are one of them.
Yes. And but also with a lot of these movies from this time and, 20 years in each direction, it's also a dance movie, which is an entirely other dimension. We'll get into that a little bit, but that all being said, let's watch the trailer real quick.
All right.
To the away, unhappy news away.
Those gloves are serious.
Stepping out with my baby,
gloves
can't
are
go
serious.
wrong, cause I'm in right. It's for sure, not for maybe, that I'm all dressed up tonight.
All night long he calls her.
Oh, it's fucking awesome. It's supposed to be done slow.
Fiddle up on your violin, lay right on it, rest your chin upon it. Doggone, you better begin and play an overture upon your violin.
When the midnight choo-choo leaves for Alabama.
Alabama.
I'm just a fella with an umbrella.
It only happens when I dance with you. That trip to heaven till the dance is through. A girl I love is on a magazine cover.
Color by Technicolor, we were still on that. Just got way louder on me.
I made that happen for you.
All right, so, what a delightful film. One of my favorites. A little bit of trivia first. The male lead in this was Fred Astaire. Was supposed to be Gene Kelly, as in singing in the rain, Gene Kelly.
Who I adore.
Yeah, he's fantastic. But he broke his ankle playing volleyball, which is a very Gene Kelly thing to do.
Or football, depending on
No.
I read a few things. Apparently, it was called football, volleyball, or badminton, depending on which book you read. But continue.
I've always heard volleyball. But, and then Gene Kelly himself talked Fred Astaire out of retirement to fill in him for this film. And, yeah. Basically, to sum up the plot really quick, this is what we've taken to calling the she's all that trope lately. It gets a little bit more of a pass because it's from 1948, but it's, Fred Astaire loses his dance partner and then says, I can turn any one of these girls into my dance partner. It's that whole thing. And picks Judy Garland out of a chorus line at a bar and then, tries to make her into this crazy dancer and then, falls in love with her. Like that whole thing. We call that the she's all that trope. If you're not familiar with she's all that, that's the same thing. It's Pygmalion. It's My Fair Lady. It's the whole. It's that same thing.
It's like a million 80s movies.
But
and 90s movies.
I love this movie. I brought up the dancing before. You pushed back on me a little bit, but people think of Judy Garland as a singer primarily, but I mean, she really is an amazing dancer. I've seen her dance in so many movies, and it's always like, oh yeah, that too.
Here's my opinion on that. She's an amazing performer and she's a very good dancer. But when you saw, the only reason I even noticed is because they had her back to back with, what's the other woman's name? The other lead? Do you remember?
I don't remember her name right
All
now.
right, whatever. The other lead lady who was a professional dancer. They had some big star that was supposed to do that role, and she also broke her ankle doing something stupid. And so they got the woman who ended up playing the other female lead in this movie to play, and she's actually a professional dancer, stage dancer. So when I saw her back to back with Judy Garland, that's when I really noticed, like, all right, compared to the professional dancer, she's not as good. But it actually worked really well for the movie because, as you're telling the story here, like, she's supposed to be like, oh, I can get anyone to be my partner. She's not supposed to be professional.
Yeah, but I do think, dancing with Fred Astaire, it kind of makes you legit.
Of course. I'm not saying she's terrible. She just wasn't being put back to back with a professional dancer. I noticed the difference, but, she was still amazing.
But there are so many awesome song and dance sequences in this. I'm going to try to geek out for as little time as possible. But there's these two things called incorporated musicals and unincorporated musicals. We never said this was not a geeky podcast.
I didn't actually know this.
Yes. Incorporated musicals means Les Mis, where it's just people and characters, and it's like, I'm going to make toast, and it's every Disney movie where like they're just singing like what they're doing and like be our guest. An unincorporated musical is when it's about performers and or singers. Like
Gotcha.
Cabaret is an
Right.
unincorporated musical
That
because
makes
she's a
perfect
performer,
sense.
and every musical number in that movie takes place on stage. It's
And-
actually taking place. It's not fantasy like they're walking down the street like bonjour.
And well, there's a little bit of that, but like it's not the whole thing.
It's mixed.
Right. But
This is both.
right. But I did a bunch of research today. I didn't realize that this is actually a very common. That was like the thing during this time period in the 40s, that having musicals that were this type of thing. There was a lot of musicals.
A lot
like
of them
that.
were both.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so many great songs and dance sequences in this movie. Great songs, Stepping Out with My Baby, Easter Parade, It Only Happens When I Dance With You. Another noteworthy thing is the first time that they ever did this, Fred Astaire's character has a big opening, and that he's the lead of the show, and like he does the Stepping Out with My Baby, and it's sick, and the costumes are sick.
Is that the one with
but
the
then,
drums?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
that's different. But then they get to a point where he has like this giant dance line. Is that what you call it? Not a chorus line, but a huge amount of backup dancers behind him.
Sorry. It was I remember which part it is now, yeah.
Yeah, and they're all dancing in real time, just being backup dancers. But then Fred Astaire is right in the middle, in the front, in slow motion, just tearing it up with this cane, being Fred Astaire, and it was a really, really cool effect. And it was a pivotal thing. They'd never done that before. I'm sure it's been copied, but that was the first time they ever did this. And a piece of trivia that I missed about this, what I thought was very interesting, this was the most financially successful film that Judy Garland and Fred Astaire ever made.
And
That's pretty crazy.
And the director.
Okay. And I mean, that's crazy to say about a movie that has the little girl from Wizard of Oz in it. That's nuts. Like, so this movie did well. But yeah, I
when we first watched it, that part where he starts going in slow motion while the background is still, I wasn't sure if they had just like slowed him down or if they had sped up the back and then, you know what I mean? I looked it up. That was definitely him in slow motion. Like and actually, now that I think of it, you could tell from the video because his clothes were moving in slow motion too. So, but yeah, it's really interesting, and it looked very. Honestly, I wouldn't even say it was that cool. Like cool and like it wasn't like I'm not really sure what the point was. It was supposed to be a live show.
because they were just making it look sick. It was like the Matrix of musicals of the time.
But it didn't really make sense that it would be like that because it was supposed to be showing us a live stage performance, so they wouldn't have been doing that.
It was for you.
Right, yeah. And
when people are chasing each other in movies, it's not going dun 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 dun. That's just, you're the only one hearing that. Batman doesn't hear it. Wow, my song's really cool.
well, the reason I liked it is because when you see someone as skilled as him dancing in slow motion, you notice all these little things that you might not have noticed. I don't know. I just thought it looked really... It was really interesting. I wouldn't say it made the most sense of anything I've ever seen, but it was really interesting looking.
Well, I've never approached it so annoyingly. I've just always thought that was a really cool effect that they tried out. It was the first time anyone ever did it. But whatever.
Annoyingly? What?
I never questioned. I wasn't like, oh, how are they? What? I was just like, it's
I
the way
always
they
do that.
just did. It's like a music video.
No,
when Missy
no.
Elliott's flying around in a balloon.
It is not supposed to be a music video. I had the same complaint about the other scene with the CoverGirls number. I don't remember what it's actually called, but
I'm in love with a girl on a magazine cover.
There we go. They set up that scene as being a stage performance in a restaurant, not even a theater, a restaurant, and yet they had like somewhere between 8 to 10 enormous sets that looked like a magazine cover with a live woman posing in the middle of it.
I just figured that was all around.
Yeah, right. They'd be all around.
Yeah, they got the money.
Well, I looked it up. Apparently, they built the MGM had a theater that they shot that in that is bigger than any Broadway theater that has ever existed, which is why it makes no sense. Not only would it make no sense as a stage production, because that's insanely huge, it also doesn't make sense that they were doing it in a restaurant. Look, this is stuff that I noticed.
It was Tony Stark's place. We do have to move on from this. So
All right.
Do you have anything else to say about Easter Parade? I think I've made it clear that I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I loved it too a lot. I love the music. The one thing I'll say about I wrote it just the makeover trope, but I like the she's all that trope. That works for me. The reason it doesn't annoy me is because very quickly in the movie, is this a spoiler?
No.
I'm about to say. All right, very quickly in the movie.
Dorothy makes it home.
I don't know. I'm trying to be nice. She's been telling him like, "Hey, you can't make me imitate your ex-girlfriend. Like, this isn't me. I feel silly." They have this great dance number where she's pretending she's what was the stupid name he gave her, like Esmeralda or something that made no sense. So he was trying to make her dance and dress and look like his ex. They had this hilarious dance number where she has feathers flying off awkwardly everywhere and like stepping on each other and just proving that she should be herself, not try to pretend to be this other woman. And she's telling him this, and then he realizes that she's right and like it's like, "Oh, I came up with a great idea. You should be yourself." And she's like, "Yes, weird, great idea that you came up with." And so that's why it didn't bother me so much because, yeah, they had the makeover trope thing, but very quickly into the movie, they were like, never mind, we're just going to let her be herself. Instead of, like, My Fair Lady, where that's the pinnacle of the movie is when she achieves the fake version of herself, like, at the end. You know what I mean? So, the moral of the movie wasn't, like, don't be yourself, which it is in a lot of these other makeover trope movies. The moral of the movie was be yourself.
Moral of the movie was put your feathers on and get in the kitchen.
Yeah.
we do have to move on from this.
Okay.
I love this fucking movie. It's one of my favorites ever. This might seem excessive. The only reason I'm not like it's perfect is just because there's such a big handful of other Judy Garland movies that are more important to me and hit home better, but whatever. I give it a 9. So I love Easter Parade.
I will give it an 8.
All right, so Easter Parade gets an 8.5.
All right.
So moving along. We are finally going to review a Star Trek film.
Yeah.
We watched Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, which was the third installment in the original series films, preceded by the abysmal The Motion Picture, which was evidently named by someone's aunt. The second one, The Wrath of Khan!
Which is so good.
Which is, of course, a classic.
I love it.
But this is the third one, and it is directed by none other than Spock himself, Leonard Nimoy.
Yes.
This is not his directorial debut. He did a couple things, but this is the first Star Trek thing he ever directed. And he also went on to direct 3 Men and a Baby. Never knew that till recently.
I didn't know that. That's weird.
We saw in the...
I don't remember things, please.
Spoilers are going to be a little rough on this one, so stay sharp. Let's check out the trailer.
All right. Actually, I'm just going to say real quick, if you don't want The Wrath of Khan spoiled for you, this entire movie is a spoiler of Wrath of Khan. So
You're already spoiled.
Just move on. All right? No. Because the end of Wrath of Khan, you don't know what happens to Spock. Like, just don't even watch this if you care about the end of Wrath of Khan. All right, ready?
Khan.
All that they've loved, all that they've fought for, all that they've stood for will now be put to the test. Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock.
The word, sir? The word is no. I am therefore going anyway.
You do this, you'll never sit in the captain's chair again.
Engage auto systems. Clear all moorings.
Cleared, sir.
1/4 impulse power.
Someone is stealing the Enterprise. Warp speed.
Bring Alberta Bracer. She's arming torpedoes.
Shields up.
The shield's non-responsive.
It really sounds like he says fuck right there.
on this, the final voyage of the Starship Enterprise. Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. The adventure continues.
All right. So, because I love Star Trek so much, I'm going to do a quick synopsis for this one. So, like I said, everything I'm about to say spoils Wrath of Khan. So, get lost if you don't want to know the ending of that movie. All right, so we pick off where Wrath of Khan left off. Admiral Kirk, not Captain Kirk, is on his way home with his crew on the Enterprise, which is all fucked up from Khan. They're barely make it back. They need all these repairs. And when they get home, McCoy starts acting crazy. Scott gets taken away and sent to another ship to do repairs on the other ship. And they tell them that the Enterprise is being decommissioned because it's too old. And that Kirk is not allowed to follow up on the Spock situation. So everything's terrible. And then they decide to steal the Enterprise, break McCoy out of his crazy cell, and run off with the Enterprise and try to go rescue or find out what happened to Spock. That's the setup of the movie.
Sure. And
meanwhile, the Klingons are trying to find the planet that Spock is on as well. The planet Genesis.
Yes.
Alright, so I'm just going to preface this by saying that I love the original Star Trek cast so much. And so I know there's the whole thing about the odd number movies are all garbage. Like, that's the thing that people say. I do not think... Oh, it's a thing. The even ones are the good ones. The odd ones are the bad ones. I do not think it is fair to put this movie into that group. Because... Alright, so here's... Can I go into my review?
I wanted to drop some trivia about it.
Trivia.
Because I like trivia about movies. Christopher Lloyd is the villain. He's a Klingon. Which was also fun. It's not also fun because it's the first thing I said. It's just fun. But also, he didn't really talk like a Klingon. He just sounded like...
a little bit, but not very well.
He just sounded like Doc Brown. Which I think is kind of a Christopher Lloyd thing. Like,
but when you say talk like a Klingon, you mean
everyone
talk
else is
like
like, there's the best view, and he was just like, Marty!
Wait. Oh, because you haven't watched Deep Space Nine. The main guy in charge of the Klingons, not the Emperor, but like the next one, I forget what his name is, the head of the council, has the stupidest voice ever. So it's not like all Klingon talk like Worf.
But let me put it like this. He sounded more like Christopher Lloyd than a Klingon.
Yes. He also...
Which is fine. It was great. It's like, it was great. It's just like knowing Christopher Lloyd, I was like, yep. Christopher Lloyd! Damn you, Kirk! But, no, he was good. I didn't have a problem with that. It's funny to point out. And, this is where we get really silly. This was the first film or TV show or anything that they changed the sound of the transporter.
Yeah.
Before that, it was the...
I didn't notice it at first, but the moment he was like, did you notice that the transporter was different? I was like, holy shit, yeah.
In this one, it's more... It actually sounds, I think, better in this one because it's more like...
I wish you told me you were going to bring that up. I would have queued up the sound effects for people.
But then, immediately after that, probably because some geeks complained because nothing ever changes... They went back to the on Next Generation, and it's still been that ever since in all the movies. But yeah, we never told you this wasn't a geeky show. It's just something I noticed. But my review's really short.
All right. Whatever. So I'll start then. So, okay, here's what I think about, if I have to talk about the first three movies. So the first one, I feel like they tried to be an action movie and didn't do a fantastic job. The second one, I feel like they tried to go back... I mean, not that there wasn't a lot of action in the second movie. It was also a lot of action. They tried to go back to what Star Trek is really about, which is, like, the strength and the the desire for progression and intelligence of mankind, right? Not that they always succeed, they always get in trouble because somebody isn't living up to those ideals, but that's what the show is generally about, you know, man and intelligence and fighting the enemies of the world. And then this third one, I feel like they tried to do both, and I don't think they totally succeeded. I don't think it's the best Star Trek movie. It's not like a perfect Star Trek movie, but I think it was pretty good. I thought it was a solid attempt, and I thought the special effects looked pretty awesome. And then I looked it up. It turns out Lucas Special Effects did the special effects for the third Star Trek, which is why they looked a lot better considering. Oh, they also have a very small budget.
Part out.
What part?
You just said Star Wars instead of Star Trek.
Well, I just brought up Lucas. It's okay.
You're gonna get death threats.
The George Lucas's special effects team did the special effects for Star Trek 3, which to me makes sense because I thought the special effects looked better than Star Trek 2, even though they had a much lower budget. So there you go. And even though Spock wasn't in it, and Spock is my favorite character I think he might be one of my favorite fictional characters, period, of anything. I'll probably regret saying that later, but he's definitely up there. Even though he wasn't there, he was there. Like, he was a presence in the whole movie, even though he had, 2 minutes at the end, maybe?
You just said he wasn't there, and then you said he was there.
Oh, shit.
I wasn't going to call you out.
Here, I'll tell you what. I'll cut this out. Where should I start from? Oh, yeah, Spock is, one of my favorite fictional characters, I think, of anything. He might be of anything. And so, hold on. Spoiler real quick. Even though he was not in the movie other than 2 minutes at the end, his presence was so felt during the whole movie, and it still felt like he was there even though he wasn't. That's all. And do I have anything else for
save your rating?
Oh, I also don't like Christopher Lloyd's performance, not because I don't think he was a good enough Klingon per se. I just thought he was a pretty weak villain, and I think that might be unfair to him because he came right after we had Khan, and Khan is one of the best villains. He's so good, and the actor who plays Khan is so good. He's such a complicated character. I don't know I can't remember how complicated they got on Khan's character in the movie, but through his, in all the episodes that he's in and everything, he's such an interesting and complicated character and made for a very good villain. Whereas Christopher Lloyd was just kind of, me bad guy, which is kind of all right.
I think the Klingons are always, as with a lot of Star Trek villains, are always a little goofy. So it was nice to watch somebody that I actually trust as an actor and be like, oh, okay, he's, it was a little weird, but it's not much weirder to me than usually when they're just here's the last of the...
Well, no, I'm not saying Christopher Lloyd was doing a bad job.
Did I say Christopher Walken saying that?
I don't know. I'm not saying he did a bad job of doing the character. I'm saying the character was a weak villain.
All right.
Khan was a complicated villain had motivations that you could understand.
Yeah, he was some dickhead.
Klingon, that character was just bad guy. There's no interesting thing about him, no depth to him, no backstory.
We do have to move this. To sum it up, I really enjoyed it. It was really emotional, especially Kirk. William Shatner's great in this movie, and it was very emotional about his relationship and the duty he felt to Spock. That was really cool. That being said, it's still on the Hoke side for me, where I really fall down with when I truly can get lost in Star Trek. So it's it still had a little of the we're fighting, but it looks like so
it felt very original series.
but it's really great. But I mean, the special effects and the editing and the music and this cinematic nature of it is a step above just straight up thrown on the original series. So it was good, and I give it a 7, which is a high rating for me.
I also give it a 7.
All right, so it gets a 7 from us, and something we wanted to touch on really quick before we move along. We're not going to show the trailer or get too much into it, but we watched recently For the Love of Spock, which is a documentary about the life of Leonard Nimoy. Came out in 2016 and was directed by his son, Adam Nimoy, who the only thing I could find that he directed that was worth mentioning was episodes of The Next Generation. So that's pretty cool. And He was a little bit more of an interesting guy than I thought, as though being Spock isn't interesting enough. He had a really eclectic life, and all I'm going to say is he did music, and this movie's worth checking out just to see, like, the more eccentric music he put out. I won't say anything to spoil it.
We can
it's very
say
music.
The title of the song. So
No, I don't think so. I don't think
no?
so. No. Just watch it, especially
it's
if you
on
like...
YouTube, right? The whole movie?
No, it's on Netflix.
Okay, the whole
so
movie's
check it
on
out,
Netflix.
especially if you like Spock and Leonard Nimoy, and you can learn about him a little bit. But yeah, especially that fucking music. It's not the best thing in the world. It's a little sappy at times, but it's very, very interesting. So it's like a very worthwhile documentary for Star Trek people. So anything you wanted to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the movie, it just reminded me of all the things I love about Spock. And I think that if any of you guys ever watched the original series, obviously it's so cheesy and, you know, it was very limited in budget, and you can tell when it comes to costume design and aliens. But Spock was one of those characters that spoke really deeply to a lot of people. He was the outsider, and they talk about that a lot in the movie. And they didn't mention this, but I've heard this from many friends of mine, that people who are mixed race like me really identified with Spock too, because he was the first character that we could relate to on that, like, the level of having two different cultures and having to decide which one is going to be the predominant one in your life at what point, and having to be, you know when is the right time to do this and what is the right time, being able to, I guess they call it code switching, now that they have words for this, code switching. Anyway, a lot of people relate to him for a lot of reasons, mostly that he's an outsider and that he's different than everyone else in his ship, but then I know he has a special place in the heart of any multicultural, mixed race Star Trek fans out there. I think he might have been one of the earliest characters to really be like that.
All right, we have to move this along. Quick plug before we go to intermission. Hey, if you're looking for some food for delivery or takeout in Kingston, check out The Anchor at 744 Broadway in Kingston, New York. Their phone number is 845-853-8124. You can check them out online. You can check them out online at theanchorkingston.com. They got to-go booze. They got to-go food. Check them out. They used to be my employers when the world still existed. And tell them Francis sent you. All right, we're going to go to intermission now and check out a local band. Tell me when you're ready, and I'll announce it.
I'm ready.
All right, this is Dig by Geezer. Enjoy. We'll be back in a few minutes.
And we're back. Come on over, darling.
Yeah, and that was Geezer. We played all their plugs for you right there during that. So if you're interested in their merch or music, go check all that out. What was it called? Geezer what?
They're on Bandcamp and Facebook and everything.
Yeah, Geezer. Look them up.
Hey guys, thanks for watching so far. I just want to heads up. For technical difficulty reasons, we only have about half of our interview with Mike. But it's a good half, so hopefully you enjoy it.
Here's a short clip of his stand-up. Very short. So pay attention. Hamakalula!
This is honestly, it's crazy being my second biggest fear is getting a boner in front of all of you. You know, it's my first biggest fear is that none of you will notice. Yeah, it's a small dick joke. I'm fucking so yeah.
All right.
Hey, Mike, you there?
Hey guys, how are you?
We're doing great.
Good.
What have you been up to?
So Mike's a good friend of mine and one of the first comedians I ever worked with. As far as booking each other back and forth, a little tickle wickle. And yeah, I'm curious to know how this whole experience has been for you. But let's just catch up a little bit. How are you?
I'm good and stuff. Basically, I work at Joe B's, so I am deemed essential. So I've been working 6 days a week.
That's a restaurant, right? The one on Broadway?
Yeah, it's it's a deli.
Yeah. Okay, I've been there.
So you've been doing, did they ever have dine-in?
We have there's maybe 5 seats in there. It's not much.
But now it's all to go, and do you guys deliver?
Yeah.
You want to plug them real quick?
Yeah.
Do you like them that much?
Yeah, Joe B's is dope. If you don't know Joe B's, go to Joe B's. It's the best.
Awesome.
Yeah, so the person listening to this in Europe, it's on Broadway in Kingston, right by the high school. I'm sure you can find the number online. It's BEEZ.
You almost delivered what?
To Kentucky once.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Kentucky.
we did a contest. Remember, could get the biggest order from their school. We would drive there. It ended up being Syracuse, but we almost went to Kentucky because they were in a close second.
Oh my god, that would have
And
been
do you
rough.
think perhaps you were swindled by Reddit users? Or no, 4chan. That's what I should have said.
Oh yeah, they're the ones who was fucking swamp people.
Yeah, Mike's a comic. I very early on when I was doing comedy, he started doing a weekly thing at Keegan Ales. Am I allowed to say that?
I think so. I don't know. Is there copyrights on podcasts?
No, we have to be
copyright.
careful about mentioning where people work because
But yeah, check out Keegan Ales on St. James Street in Kingston, New York. They're a brewery as well. Well, not right now. They're not a restaurant, but I'm sure they're doing to-go, and they're definitely doing to-go beers like everybody else. But they have a little stage area, and they have music there, and Mike was doing comedy shows, and somebody pointed him out to me, and they were like, hey, that dude, produces comedy here. And this was, I was really early. And, you remember when you're, so stupid and early in comedy that you have business cards before you, should?
Aww. You had business cards or did Mike?
Oh, I did. No, I did. And I went up to him.
You left me your business card, and I was like, who's this guy? Because, I wasn't really doing that long either. And then Lisa was just like, yeah, this guy left you his business card for comedy. And I was like, oh, Jesus. Because it's just it's not a real show. It's just a freaking 7 people, all free type thing. And then they were like, you left me your card.
But yeah, that's how you got a hold of me. And then,
it worked then.
I did a good 5 or 6 of them. And I can't remember one that wasn't fun.
No, they're always awesome. Yeah, as long as you get free beer and food or whatever, it's usually pretty dope. And then, I don't know, sometimes we got 30, 40 people in there. So it was always a good crowd.
Yeah, I really like that you did that. It was a nice thing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think we've probably been doing it about the same amount of time. You started what, about 5 years ago?
Yep, right around there.
Yeah, so we're like neck and neck, which ruins one of my questions later. But anyway, but no, that's awesome. You were one of the essential ingredients. You were the garlic in my roux. Starting out in Kingston and just being like, I'm actually going to get out there and do stuff. It's like, so that was awesome.
Yeah, dude. It's fun. Stand-up's fun. I tell everybody to do it. Everyone's like, you're so brave to get out there, and it's like, not really, because once you do it, it's awesome, and you're like, now you just love doing it.
So everybody that's listening to this, that's thinking about it, don't regard what he just said. It's really hard, and a lot of people suck balls. And Mike is way better than he thinks he is. He's just like, whatever, it's just like playing video games. I get up there and like, whatever, my dick and stuff. But no, he's really, really fucking funny, dude. There's a lot of stinkers out there. And we'll give him a chance a couple times, but you know, you get. Let me balance out his optimism with my cynicism a little bit. Like, relax. All right.
So you're just very encouraging, Mike. It's very nice.
No, I encourage motherfuckers when I think they're funny, but when some people are like, "Yo, bro, I can totally do this," I'm like, all right.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's those people, though. You know those people.
Yeah, it's most of them.
I'm not going to do that either.
You're doing are you doing a podcast now too, or are you just doing live video? I saw you were doing something.
Basically, it's just been Facebook Lives. I don't know, because it sucks not doing stand-up at all.
Exactly, yeah.
So, my first one was supposed to be, I was just gonna like literally just do a set looking at the camera and like do like 10 minutes of like my actual set, and then people started like commenting back in the chat and everything. So then it kind of just turned into me like maybe telling a couple jokes and really just kind of talking about random stuff.
Cool.
But
that's awesome.
It's weird.
You know what the future of stand-up truly is, right? Is you record yourself standing there, and then you play a laugh track after every one of your punchlines. This is our only way out.
One of the comedians, I won't say his name or anything, but when I first started, I was going to Ross and Jody's, who are two very nice comedian friends of ours. They had an open mic down in Creekside Pub in Newburgh. And there was one guy there that he brought one of those like little applause things up to the stage, and he would tell his jokes, and there would never be laughs after it. And sorry, I'm eating. And then he would always play like claps and laughs like after his jokes that just bombed. Like he knew they were gonna bomb, and then like his punchline was that he would play the fake laughs.
Okay, so it wasn't just that he was totally an idiot. He was trying to make that be the punchline. I guess you have to have something. I was told, Francis, that one of the things that makes me the most annoyed as an audience member is when someone tells a joke that falls flat because I didn't actually think it was funny, and then the comedian gets all mad about it and is like, "Oh, I guess you guys don't understand or don't know who Barack Obama is." And it's like, no, we know who Barack Obama is. We just didn't think it was fucking funny. But then when I brought that up, either you or David was like, "Yeah, okay, but we also have to say something when nobody laughs. So like, you know, people shouldn't say that all the time. We have to say something." So I guess in that case, having a stupid laugh track machine that you put up to them, I mean, it's just another version of that, right?
That's kind of some Andy Kaufman shit.
Yeah, whatever. Better than being like, "Fuck you, audience, for being stupid." Like, I'd rather listen to a stupid laugh track when someone bombs.
So outside of the,
you gotta say something.
Yeah. Like I mean, I've done 2 or 3 open mics before everything got shut down, so I don't fucking even know what I would do in that situation. So who am I to criticize people for like their jerk reaction being like, "Fuck you guys."
The key is to bring your own cricket. Did you guys ever read or see the animated film A Cricket in Times Square?
I read the book very many times. I loved that book when I was a kid.
Mike, do you know Charlotte's Web?
I do know that one, in fact, yes.
It's the same author, except it's about a cricket that plays violin songs on his legs. Why did I just think of this? Oh yeah, I want that cricket.
Why? It might sound familiar.
So, I got a couple things I want to just get through with you. Like, what is it like at Joe B's? Like, are they doing well with
Delivery
and takeout and everything? Or just takeout or whatever you're doing?
So I'm the delivery guy, which is we only have like
hey bro,
4
we're
people that work
co-workers. I'm also a delivery guy.
Yeah, I mean we do everything there. But now we're open till 6. I basically just have to wear a mask everywhere, which always sucks. But I mean you have to. But But yeah, I mean the high school's out, and nobody from the hospital wants to go anywhere because they get roasted anytime they go anywhere, and their hospital clothes. So that's like a lot of our business, but we're trying to do stuff.
No, it's true. It's true.
Oh, Lord.
Dude, my fucking friend who I will be interviewing on Monday, she's a nurse in a COVID unit, and like she has had such a fucking hard time. People see that she's wearing a nurse's uniform, especially if she just gets off a shift where she still has lines on her face from wearing a mask for 12 hours. People treat her like she's radioactive.
Well, it's just crazy because like I in no way am trying to go home, change, then go out to Walmart. Like that never happens.
Yeah,
I'm not fucking doing that ever. But it's just like that's the thing. They can't even go to the supermarket after work. If they wear their scrubs after work, it's insane. They're just gonna get destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, real cool this world, huh?
We're pouring wine. What are you drinking over there?
I have some Captain Morgan Black Spiced Rum.
By itself or mixed?
With Dr. Pepper.
Excellent. That actually sounds really good.
I've never done that before, and my knee-jerk reaction is to mock you, but at the same time, like, actually, that sounds good.
Dr. Pepper is my favorite soda in the world.
Dude, I was watching these people the other day, and they said that it tastes like medicine. I was like, no, it fucking doesn't. And I was like, what kind of medicine?
Dude, I'm drinking Campari
like...
right now. I like things that taste like medicine, obviously.
It tastes like medicine from 1880. It doesn't taste like
where
medicine
it was just
now.
cocaine?
Yeah, exactly.
Not like fucking you get those cheapo gummy bears that taste like medicine. Those motherfuckers taste like some Dimetap shit. I remember I went to fucking Frogmore or whatever. You remember when that was uptown?
Yeah, the tavern.
Yeah, and they had all this fancy bullshit cocktail crap, and it was like, oh, okay, this sounds purple and it has gin, I'll get it, and it was straight up tasted like Dimetap, and I was like, motherfucker, this is $12. Like, this better fucking cure me of everything that ails me.
That's just uptown anyway.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I wonder what uptown. I mean, yeah, this is the thing, right? Like, we keep saying, "Oh, well, that's uptown." Uptown's nothing right now, though. Like, what's gonna? I don't know.
I'm gonna go
so
up there
existential,
and shoot
man.
everybody.
They're trying to make it all fancy. It's gonna be. It sucks. I don't even go up there anymore.
They've been trying to make it all fancy for 20 years.
They were trying, like, there's like some boutique thing opening or something, and they were trying to call their bar the Stockade Bar. They're like, you literally. There's like 4 bars up there, and you have to steal one of the bar names. But
yeah,
over my dead body, will they open a boutique in Uptown?
Boutique hotel.
What were we talking about? Boutiques.
So, you did one of those online comedy show things, right? Well, there was Zoom or not. Like, what was that?
Just my Facebook Live. So it's literally just any of my friends, and it's just me talking.
Okay. So you weren't in on it with other people trying to get like a stupid audience that wasn't working, right?
No, I don't think I did that.
Yeah.
So you just rambled into a camera, which I respect a lot.
It's like at first it's weird because you're just telling your jokes, and then like when you get to the punchlines, you don't know if anybody liked it or not, so you're kind of freaking out about that.
That's where the laugh track comes in.
It'd be better if like the room was just silent and I could say, "Oh, fuck you guys," like that would be better than just sitting in silence hoping thumbs up.
You should say that anyway.
Yeah, fuck you guys. You guys
Better
like
fuck y'all. Ain't no woman like my mama.
But I realized once you start talking, it's easy. You just keep talking, or you start getting into stories and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, in things.
See, then you're getting into like a one-man podcast, which, like, you know, if you call it that, then it's kind of more a thing.
Yeah, just start calling it that.
Bill Burr does his own podcast with nobody else. Most of the time, he didn't, like,
Mark
almost never
Maron
has
does
guests.
his own podcast.
Yeah, that's the cool, because people always say that about comedians, that they have like the same jokes and stuff, but it's like, it's not that they have the same jokes, it's that I want to hear what he thinks about that, if that makes sense. Because like Bill Burr is like one of my favorite comedians, but he could talk about the same thing Bert Kreischer does, but I want to hear that same thing talked about by both of them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I haven't done anything like this. Was the answer to me not being able to do stand up is us doing this podcast. I haven't done any of these like zoomy badoomy things yet. I'm sure if this shit goes on for long enough, I'll probably surrender and do something like that, but it just sounds like such a fucking disaster.
I don't know. I mean, the way that David described the second one that he did, where you can actually hear the audience reaction, like they let the audience reaction audio come through, that doesn't sound so bad.
You get your setup, or no, you get your premise, you got your setup, and then you're about to do your punchline, and it stops working because half the people's internet, like somebody just chainsawed a telephone pole down or something in protest.
Naturally.
Oh, man.
Do you have anything coming up that you wanted to shout out? Like, are you doing anything on the internet
when do you
soon?
do your show? When do you do your whatever?
I don't know yet, honestly. I kind of just posted up on my Facebook, so if you find me on Facebook, Mike McGrath. But, yeah, I kind of just do it randomly, or if I have a friend that might want to do it. And then I want to set up a podcast like the way y'all are doing and stuff, but I still got to work out the kinks and stuff.
Right, well, if you have obviously, I haven't gotten the biggest kink that we've discovered here. I've solved a lot of problems, but the biggest kink
that I like to be shit on.
Is that the internet in this house is garbage. And, like, it's good enough for a high upload speed, but the ping speed, I don't know if you know what ping speed is, but that's the delay between when I say something and then you hear it, and then you say something and I hear it back. That is really poor when the internet's not good. So, like, if you don't have to deal with that, then if it's just you talking or talking with someone else in the room and you don't have to deal with Skyping someone, you can have pretty shitty internet and it doesn't matter. So I can help you with that, Chef.
Well, what I've noticed with, like, the Facebook Lives is that, because, like, the cool thing about Facebook Live is that you can literally interact with, like, whoever's watching you because they can text in messages and stuff.
Yeah.
But I realize that those messages come in, like, 15 seconds or something, like, after I said something. So I end up, like, going talking about something that somebody commented, like, 15 seconds ago.
Right.
If that.
Yeah. And how would you even translate that into a podcast? Because then you'd have to have, like, the audio of what people are... I mean, I guess you could read it back before you said something.
Yeah, but that was like that's like the weirdest part, because I tried to watch it on my computer at the same time, and I realized my computer's like lagged behind my phone that I've been recording with.
Insane. That's why I'm always like muting and starting up mics again, because like the delay between what you're hearing and what you're saying, it gets trippy.
Yep. And that's another thing with my jokes. If I like do a punchline and I'm like, I don't know if you guys even thought that was funny, they don't hear that punchline for another like 10 seconds.
Right.
So I'm already like onto something else, and then of course I'll get like a million like thumbs ups and laugh faces and stuff. So
you just have to have faith that they're coming.
Gross.
Well, awesome, man. What are you doing with your free time, like when you're stuck at home and you can't go out to like your friend's house and hang out? Oh, you do video games. You're into video games, aren't you?
I play a super amount of video games. I have a bunch of friends all over the country that I play with.
That must help.
Literally, it's cool because it's like, obviously I'll be drinking and stuff, and then they're all drinking. We're just like playing. I mean, it's kind of like everyone's at your house, but you're all just playing like one game online, if that makes sense. But my literally my like best friend online is this dude LD. And he is just this like 48-year-old like thug dude from Missouri. Like it's insane how hood this guy is, but we're just best friends.
What's your game of choice?
It's called Overwatch.
Overwatch. Is it?
It's pretty big. It's like a 6v6. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain games, honestly. I play games a lot, but I don't.
We wouldn't understand either. So.
First person, second person, or like an open world RPG style.
It's first person, 6 versus 6. A lot of the stuff's like
Okay.
it's like push the payload, capture the point. Like it's like super team oriented.
All right, so it's like
except
capture
all
the
the
flag
characters-
sort of thing, like the way that like
Yeah.
Call of Duty is, and when you play in teams and Gear of War or whatever.
Yep, but all the characters in Overwatch are all kind of crazy. So like, there's like a giant gorilla is one of them. Like this little tiny girl that can teleport is another one. Like there's a hamster for fuck's sakes. There's like a lot of stuff. I don't know. It's cool. It's different. It's a little different.
It's not a shoot 'em up game.
It is. It's just everybody has different guns.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, I would like to ask you my generic comedy questions I've been asking everybody so far, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Who is the first comedian that you watched in your life that made you like picture yourself doing it, or really made you have that feeling where you were like, holy shit, like I would love to be able to do that?
I think it was. I used to watch Premium Blend a lot. On Comedy Central when I was younger. It literally just like, I mean, not amateur comedians because they were definitely like doing a lot of stuff, but I think Dov Davidoff was on, or Dove Davidoff, whatever it is, on Premium Blend, and I think that was the first time I really thought about it. But I had to be like,
he left such an impression on you. You don't even know if his name is Dove or not. Because I remember a motherfucker named Dove, even if he was a dick.
I think it's. I don't know, man. Everybody, you can see somebody and you don't know.
Was he a lonesome dove?
I don't know. He's some type of Russian-ish.
What about him spoke to you?
He's very. I think I took something from him. He's very awkward. I don't know.
He does an awkward thing? You don't say.
Kinda, yeah, he does a little bit. You guys should look him up if you haven't heard, because he's not like a mainstream person, but he's definitely somebody I've listened to a lot.
Dove what?
But
Davidoff.
Davidoff.
Okay, Dove Davidoff. We'll look him up.
I'm gonna go Davidoff as soon as this podcast is over.
Yeah, why not?
Thinking about red wizard beards.
Dave. But no, I don't know. He's the first person that really made me laugh. Cat Williams was another one too. Like when I saw Cat Williams stand up, like because he had like the big like sold out room specials and stuff. Mm-hmm. Those got me huge into comedy.
Yeah, he's weird. He's an animal. In life too. He's a bad person, but
is he?
He's crazy.
Why is he a bad person?
Because he smokes crack and like gets in fights with teenagers and yeah, but he's fucking
he
funny.
He loses the fight.
And loses the fight?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's like 4'6".
Oh, yeah, that's true.
He's trying to represent the lollipop
that's
kids,
so
and he's not doing a good job.
Most comedians are always like, oh, I turned to comedy because I needed to make the bullies laugh so they wouldn't beat me up. And meanwhile, he's like starting fights with kids.
Bullying little kids that beat him up. Yeah, he's a crackhead mess, but he is very fucking funny. His bit where he's talking about... Yeah, when he's talking about his daughter not wanting to eat her food and jumping at her high chair and kicking it over, and he like kicks the stool over. That shit is fucking funny as hell. And he always has his hair did like George Washington or some shit.
That's true.
He's always wearing like literally like a pimp outfit, and then just his hair is like straightened all the way out. It's hilarious.
Yeah, he's a wackadoo.
He has a joke. It's like Poor Little Tink Tink or whatever. It's about this kid with like metal legs, and he has like a 10-minute joke on a kid with metal legs, and it's hilarious. And I can't handle it.
He is great.
I would look it up as well.
I don't know if I've actually listened to any of his specials from beginning to end before. I've heard lots of clips here and there. But
he's nuts.
Yeah.
They are really good. Like, they're actually, like, really good.
Yeah,
like,
it's some of the best shit ever. He's fucking crazy.
He has one where he, like, puts the mic on his forehead like he's talking to Shaq, where it's Shaq's wiener is the mic, and he, like, drops it on his forehead. It's hilarious.
Fucking, all right, next question. You ready?
Yes.
Tell me about the first time you ever did stand-up. When it was, where it was, the whole thing.
Ooh, I'm curious.
All right, so my friend Joey had started doing comedy, and I still, at this point in my life, I didn't think it was a thing you could just do. I thought, like, you had to, like, have something set up. But then he had done like one of those like bringer shows in the city, and he would just yeah, those are the worst. And he was like, there's an open mic at this bar in Poughkeepsie. I forget what it was. I think it was like Murphy's or something like that.
Yeah, one.
But
Murphy's.
I get there.
Yeah,
No,
the
not
Italian
one. I heard there was like some crazy teacher lady that got like super Karen'd over there, and then freaking.
Yeah, it
They
used
had
to,
a
sorry,
giant
it's
rape-
called Juan Murphy's now. It used to be called some other Irish bar name. Now it's called Juan Murphy's, but I know exactly what you're talking about. She was a teacher at Vassar College. She was a professor there.
Yeah, and then
You're
it turned
talking
out she
about the
also like
rape
comedy
joke
or something like
controversy?
that. Yeah.
You were there?
No, I wasn't there. I just saw it all over Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Look at Facebook.
Sorry, there's a slight delay, so I was like, "Holy shit! Wait a minute, were you there when that happened?" All right,
No, I just
so wait,
knew
tell
about
the
it.
story though for people who don't know about the whole Juan Murphy's thing.
Oh, what, that thing? I don't really remember. Some guy made a terrible joke about rape, but it's like, it wasn't even like his joke. It was, it's like a dad joke about rape.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't even a good one. He was just using someone else's joke, basically. This lady got super butthurt about it. Not to say butthurt like that, because it's a serious topic. But she got like all super butthurt, and then, oh yeah, butthurt is worse.
Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for sticking with us through the technical problems. And you can find us on YouTube and all the podcasting apps. Oh, and our buttons are not toys.
Buttons are not toys. Here's Geezer with Groovy.
Shot. Do your thing, but don't get caught, yeah. I got a feeling, I got to groove. And when I'm reeling, I got to grooving is guitar. Grooving loves who you are. Grooving is taking care, growing your hair. Do your thing, man. Grooving like a cat. Grooving is where it's at. Grooving is a pinball machine. Full tilt boogie, you know what I mean, yeah. I got a feeling, I got to groove. And when I'm reeling, I got to groove. In the evening, yeah, that's a groove. I got a feeling, we got to groove. a groove.